Woodstock, the most iconic music festival in history, occurred at the closing stages of the 1960s on a dairy farm in Bethel, New York. With crowds estimated to be as high as 500,000, the festival, celebrating peace, love and music, served as the appropriate climax for the decade. The festival featured an incredible lineup of iconic musicians and bands, including Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, The Who, The Grateful Dead, Santana, and many more. However, despite this world-class lineup, there were some notable absences to the festival. In this video, we will look at the top 5 bands and soloists who turned down performing at Woodstock and go into the reasons why. The iconic rock band The Doors chose not to perform at Woodstock, a decision rooted in several factors. According to Robbie Krieger, the band's guitarist, they initially declined the invitation because they believed Woodstock might be a second-class repeat of the Monterey Pop Festival. They were concerned about the commercialization of the event and feared it could turn into a media spectacle that didn't align with their artistic values. Another theory suggests that Jim Morrison, the band's lead singer, was hesitant to perform outdoors in front of such a large audience. He reportedly said, "I'm not going to play in a field in front of 40,000 people." Some theories go further, suggesting Morrison had concerns about the potential for an assassination attempt on him, with the open-air setting being the perfect place for this. However, guitarist Robbie Krieger took a more practical view, mentioning decades later that the band had doubts about the festival's location, questioning whether anyone would actually show up to the event, before admitting how wrong they were. Interestingly, despite the Doors' absence from the stage, John Densmore, the band's drummer, attended Woodstock. He was even seen on stage during Joe Cocker's famed performance. So from this we can see, the Doors had various reasons for not playing at Woodstock, ranging from concerns about commercialization and logistics, to personal preferences, and even perhaps fears. Bob Dylan, an icon of the 1960s, notably chose not to perform at Woodstock, despite his close association with the era's counterculture. His decision was influenced by a combination of personal beliefs, concerns about the commercialization of the event, and the impact of his fame on his private life. In 1975, Dylan expressed his skepticism about the Woodstock Festival and the so-called flower generation. He criticized the massive gathering of people and felt that the event exploited the idea of peace and love, symbolized by the flower power movement. Dylan's sentiments a decade later, in 1984, further revealed his disillusionment with the fame and notoriety he gained without actively seeking it. He felt he was misrepresented as a leader of the countercultural movement and was uncomfortable with the expectations placed upon him. Moreover, the 1960s and the early 70s were a turbulent time for Dylan. He had a motorcycle accident in 1966 that led him to retreat from the public eye. After this incident, Dylan became increasingly focused on his family and felt overwhelmed by the constant attention and intrusion into his personal life. The Woodstock Festival, with its associated chaos and influx of fans and followers, became another source of stress and intrusion for him. By 2004, Dylan's views on the counterculture had solidified into a strong sense of detachment. He viewed the entire movement as an empty symbol without purpose in his life, likening it to a scarecrow wearing dead leaves. In summary, Bob Dylan chose not to play at Woodstock due to his skepticism towards the event's commercialization, discomfort with being mischaracterized as a countercultural leader, and the personal challenges he faced during that period. His evolving perspective on the countercultural movement further solidified his decision to distance himself from events like Woodstock. The Rolling Stones' absence from Woodstock can be attributed to a confluence of factors, primarily revolving around the tumultuous events surrounding the band at the time. Founder of the band, Brian Jones, was ousted from the group during the first half of 1969 due to struggles with drink and substance abuse, which was further compounded by visa problems that hindered his ability to travel and perform in relation to previous drug convictions. Due to this, Jones was replaced by Mick Taylor. Tragically, later in the year, Brian was found dead in Sussex at his home in July 1969. This event plunged the band into a period of grief and uncertainty, leading to logistical challenges and emotional strain. Following Jones's departure and subsequent passing, the band underwent a transition, with Mick Jagger and Keith Richards assuming greater creative control over the Rolling Stones. However, the aftermath of Jones' exit and the band's adjustment to this new dynamic created a period of instability and uncertainty. Moreover, Mick Jagger's commitments to filming Ned Kelly, a bushranger film in Australia that released the following year, kept him occupied during the time of Woodstock, contributing to the Stones' decision not to perform at the iconic festival, as well as the organising of the Stones' first US tour in 3 years in the coming autumn. Thus, a combination of internal struggles, logistical challenges and individual commitments led to the band's absence from Woodstock. The Beatles, the most commercially successful group of the 60s, were famously absent from Woodstock, despite rumours and speculations about their possible appearance. Several factors contributed to the Beatles' decision not to play. Initially, the Beatles promoters reached out to John Lennon to discuss a potential performance at Woodstock. Lennon expressed interest, but with a condition. He wanted a spot at the festival for Yoko Ono's Plastic Ono band as well. However, this request was turned down by the organisers, which added a hurdle to the band's potential participation. Another significant reason that emerged was Lennon's personal situation at the time. He was in Canada and facing difficulties re-entering the United States due to immigration issues that were possibly exacerbated by Richard Nixon's administration. This situation made it logistically challenging for Lennon to join any potential Woodstock performance. Despite this, rumours swirled that the Beatles' surprise rooftop concert in London earlier that year served as a hint about an upcoming performance at Woodstock. However, to the disappointment of many, this wasn't to be. Ringo Starr would later express regret about not participating. In summary, the Beatles didn't play at Woodstock due to a combination of logistical challenges, disagreements over the lineup, and Lennon's personal immigration issues. Despite the rumours and speculations, these factors ultimately prevented the band from being a part of the iconic festival. Led Zeppelin, despite forming less than a year earlier, were one of the biggest bands in the world come Woodstock, but surprisingly, they did not perform at the legendary festival. The reasons behind their absence were primarily due to prior commitments and strategic decisions made by their management. At the time, Zeppelin were already booked to play at the Ashbury Park Convention Hall in New Jersey on the same weekend as Woodstock. Rather than cancelling this commitment, the band chose to honour it, missing out on the chance to be part of the historic Woodstock lineup. Robert Plant, the band's lead singer, shed some light on their manager's perspective during an appearance on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon in 2010. Plant revealed, "We didn't do Woodstock because our manager thought we would be typecast." This sentiment was echoed by their manager, Peter Grant, that participating in Woodstock would have reduced the band to just another band on the bill. Grant's strategic decision was aimed at maintaining Zeppelin's unique identity and avoid being overshadowed by the multitude of acts at Woodstock. By carefully selecting their appearances, Grant ensured that Zeppelin remained distinct and avoided being pigeonholed as just another festival band. So despite being one of the biggest bands of their time, Led Zeppelin's absence from Woodstock was a result of prior commitments and the manager's decisions to preserve their unique status in the music world. So there you have our list of the top 5 bands and soloists who turned down Woodstock. Do you agree with our list, or would you change its order or replace anyone with other groups or artists? Thank you for watching. Your support is so important to us at Canned History. If you would like to see more videos on a variety of fascinating topics, like, comment and subscribe.